right, good morning. This is James with Remote Concepts, and today we've got a little rig build breakdown on my new buggy. We call this Spinal Tap. I built this for Proline by the Fire. This is an SCX6 based rig, but we got some different things going on here, so we'll go through all that. So yeah, let's start and get into this. All right, so this is my new buggy. This is called Spinal Tap. Built this rig for Proline by the Fire. Wanted to do some different things here. Had a small breakdown on this rig before it was done for Proline by the Fire. We had some testing woes as some of the ideas weren't completely fleshed out, but we'll go through some of that too. We'll start at the front here. This is a hood off of a Losi Baja Ray Curry Jeep, and that's kind of what I based this off of for starting the chassis work here. As usual, I always start with the center box of the cage work, and then we built out from there. So this uses the grill and retain the function of the headlights, which are really good on this. And then I actually use the rear winch off of the new Losi laser nut, super laser nut there, just to add a little something to the front end. And then this is a stock front axle for an SCX6, running stock gears, stock half shafts, all the internals. But I did make my own link mounts, and we'll see if we can peek in here and get a look at this stuff, because I've got the hood on, everything on here. So I made my own behind the axle 4-link mounts. We're running a large X5 servo for the front, and I used a mixture of different SCX6 links to mount all that up. And then these are UDR shocks, and they're mounted on some TLT tabs that I had welded into the frame. You can see some of the rock lights here. Trying not to get too much sun under here. See if we can get a different view. Here you can see some of the lower cage work. And there's another view of the behind the axle mount that I made. And then these are mounted to the stock points. I actually used a small little adapter off of a Armagram, which goes from a 4mm set screw pin to a 3mm bolt, which allowed me to mount the shocks in the stock SCX6 locations. And then the links here, I've actually blued them and colored them with a torch. So this is a factory link here, steering link. And then I had to make my own links for the top. These are just all thread, and they're short enough. They seem to hold up just fine. I made some stainless steel sleeves for them. And then you can see some of the panel work here, rear cage work here. Again, some TLT brackets I had just welded to the chassis. And then for the rear axle, I wanted to do something a little different. I didn't want to use a big 5th scale servo in the back because of clearance issues. So you can see here, there's quite a bit of clearance on the behind the axle mount. Again, with the shock mounts. Made some filler panels for the chassis there. You can see in the front servo does hang down a little bit, but in the front I can kind of live with it, unless you're backing off something. Then it kind of gets hung up, but there's not much you can do about it. So we wanted to try and alleviate that with more clearance in the rear by using a 1/10 servo. And Ryan from Shifts has a new version. This is an updated version of his X 2.0, which runs 4S direct. So a little under 1,000 ounces of torque, and seems to do the job. You can see more of the 4-link mount, the tie-ins I made here, and then again I blued and heated the steering link and the sleeve for the drag link there. And I also painted the diff covers. These are just the plastic diff covers. Painted them to match the link mounts. So, and then another thing I did here is I made all copper panels. The upper panel here is ball brushed and just left raw, so it'll change colors. It's turning lots of cool greens and just self-patina. And then the sides are actually clear coated, but I've done a heat treated patina, which creates these patterns in the copper. So they're kind of unique. See if you can see this one. They're kind of unique from side to side, making their own pattern with the heat. And we've got some tabs here for rock lights. Did the tail lights, and I'll insert some video of what this looks like at night. And then we get into more of the unusualness of this buggy. I've departed from the standard 2-speed transmission and large motor that's normally found in SCX6, and I've opted to use a 3-gear axial based Vanquish transmission with a dig. So this has a Hertz 2 dig unit on the back of it. It's all the heavy duty internal components, slipper eliminator kit, all the hardened shafts, everything you need to have this transmission hold up. And you know, we run these in rock bouncers and Ultra 4 style rigs with a lot of power, and they're getting a lot of shock load, and they tend to hold up. So I figured it would be fine for rock crawling, and it gave me the ability to have a dig. Which may seem a little redundant as this has 4-wheel steer, but sometimes repositioning the vehicle in a tight area, it works out. I can adjust the front end on rocks, that sort of thing. There's lots of uses for a dig other than just maneuvering the car in a tight area. And again, we're using a shift servo. Ryan supplied all the servos for this and the wheels. And this is just the standard low profile. This is the XS7 low profile. We didn't need a ton of torque for a dig, so you know, just kept that nice low profile, keep the weight down. and that serves duty for adjusting the dig. And then you get into the electronics end of this. I'm running this on a DX5R. So this has the ability to run all of my four-wheel steer and the dig. And also up front, let's see if we can get a peek at it here. It's kind of tucked under the hood. There you can see it. I have a suck down winch on the front. So if you get more vertical, the car starts to unload, you can suck the front end down, and that helps displace the weight, help the vehicle get up stuff. Other electronics in here, I'm running the brand new R3 Hobby Wing axe kit. So this is a larger 1/8 scale 1700 kV motor, and then their new R3 axe Hobby Wing ESC. It's a pretty large amp ESC. This is rated from anywhere from 3 to 6 cell, and I run this off a 4 cell. Seems to be just the right amount of power and speed. I'm running a 5200 milliamp 4 cell LiPo. It seems to be pretty good runtime. If I'm just creepy crawling, it's about 40 minutes. On power with hills and stuff, maybe click down to about 35. But yeah, seems to be fine. You just bring a few of them with you, and yeah, because you never want to carry a rig out that's this heavy if you can help it. This is 23 pounds running weight with the battery in it, and it's about 3 pounds lighter than a stock rig. It is solid rod. It's not tube. It's a combination of 1/4 and 5/16 rod. And then for wheels and tires here, we're running again with the Shifts RC License Vision wheel 2.9. This is the only wheel I know of with an adjustable hub, similar to a large SLW hub, something you'd find on like a Vanquish wheel, or any number of wheels you find out there now kind of use a hub system. But this is the only wheel I know of on SCX6 that's adjustable. So you can go from the standard 17 mil hex, which is the same offset as your stock wheels, and then this is currently running a 23 millimeter hex hub, just to get a little bit more width. And he also offers a 30 if you want to go pretty wide, and they've been tough. I run them on my other rigs, and we jumped that thing. My other rock buggy is pretty heavy, and it does just fine. The tires are Proline Maxxis Trepador for an SCX6, and then currently right now it's running a J Concepts foam from their factory tire. Seems to be a really nice medium foam, a little bit stiffer than what was offered stock, but not as crazy as like the crazy crawler foams that are out there. Now, rear shocks are again UDR, and then these are just soft UDR springs. These are rear shocks all the way around this. And then let's talk. I built this rig for Proline by the Fire. Just kind of display the servos and some different ideas. It was a hard deadline to get it done. I was waiting on parts, so I literally built this truck in about 19 days from start to finish, and didn't have a lot of testing time on it. Very good theory. So we got everything adjusted. The dig has worked flawlessly and has had no issues. I did have a rear servo arm failure. Nothing that was the fault of Ryan with his servos. The servo has worked flawlessly. It's done everything it needs to do. But to get the length I needed for the rear steering, I had to use a very, very long servo horn from a company which will not be named, but did not go well. So in revisions, I've made this new servo horn, which is actually a long Vatera servo horn that I've made an extension for, and this one seems to be holding up. It's had a few runs on it now, and has been doing the job with no complaints. The next problem I had during testing, I'd used MIP drive shafts on this, which the MIP drive shafts seem to work fine. I did have to build a spacer here for the front. So to accommodate the 8mm output on the front axle, I did use the bell cup, drive bell cups from a Max Force on the axle side, and then it's a standard 6mm long output to clear the spur gear in there. And the front drive shaft seems to be holding up just fine. The rear drive shaft did not fare as well because their transmission is pretty far forward. This ends up being pretty long. And the first MIP drive shaft I built didn't go well. I had sleeved it and welded a piece of rod into it, and it seemed okay. It was straight, it was true. It just wasn't quite up to the task. I went to go bump up something. I got a little overzealous, out of Proline by the fire. There's a lot of grip, and exploded the upper bell at the transmission end. Drive shaft came down, and the whole rig came down on top of the drive shaft, and bent the solid rod insert and the sleeve and everything. So back to the drawing board on the drive shaft. This currently has a drive shaft out of an SBR in it. So the 8mm output out of the axle side fits on just fine. Just a little bit of grinding to clear everything. And then I actually made an insert sleeve, an aluminum insert sleeve, because I have the space in the back here for the output yoke to clear. I don't have that kind of clearance in the front. So, but yeah, I made a little aluminum, like a cullet sleeve to go inside of that drive shaft there. And this drive shaft seems to be working well. Had quite a few runs on it now, and really been abusive to it, and it's holding up well. So this is its current configuration as of right now. This is my new 4-wheel steer rock buggy named Spinal Tap, just because of kind of how the cage worked out here. It's got a whole center spline in here, and kind of looks like the spine back of some type of creature. So that's the new buggy there, Spinal Tap. A friend of mine, Doug Wade, works in printing and doing all kinds of stuff. So he helped me wrap the hood here. This awesome graphic from Shifts RC, and yeah, hood came out cool. You can kind of see the shock towers peeking through it here, cut through the hood. Power button is hidden inside the dash here, the little hole in the dash. right, guys? Thanks so much. This has been a build breakdown on my new rock buggy, Spinal Tap. Thanks for watching.